Good morning, everyone. We are the Group 5 and we are going to report about corporate social responsibility. CSR in the Philippines. In the Philippines, it is not uncommon to see companies that have their own divisions or departments devoted to upholding corporate social responsibility. The main aspects that the Philippine organizations try to focus on are environmental sustainability, employee well being, and community engagement. Environmental sustainability. It is deeply rooted in companies' efforts into making sure they have practices that protect the environment as much as possible, such as making products in such a way that reduces greenhouse gases, minimizing energy consumption, and availing services that protect ecological welfare. Number 2. Employee well-being. In the spirit of promoting this aspect of corporate social responsibility, companies often establish employee health programs that includes training and skill development projects that improve employees' work-life balance and productivity in the workplace. And lastly, community engagement. Philippine companies often outsource to the less fortunate groups in society through donating and volunteering time in order to help out various activities that includes tree planting, food drives, and partnerships with local communities. Global trends in CSR. Corporate social responsibility is an ever-evolving field as consumers and the constraints of ever-dwindling natural resources pressures companies to make more responsible choices. And here are some of the examples of the global trends in CSR. Number 1. Increase in transparency. The demand for transparency in companies has been at an all-time high because of the ever-increasing, almost instantaneous availability of information for everyone. With that, customers increasingly expect information on previous internal issues and are dissatisfied with shady corporate practices and secret goals. Number 2. Green technology. The topic of climate change continues to dominate discussions in the business world, and multiple trends in CSR intersect on this topic. And as non-renewable resources are rapidly being depleted, companies are highly encouraged to find new ways to more sustainable inputs to do business. An example of this is Coca-Cola is using different type of materials to make their bottles to be more recyclable. And lastly, global companies acting locally. Companies are realizing the value of local markets and supply chains and the benefits of it in the long term. Corporations that are interested in CSR are actively giving the area NGOs, sponsoring the construction of things like schools in low-income neighborhoods, and getting involved in local politics to further help the local community. This kind of action serves more than just lowering carbon emissions of the production, but also tap into local talent and solutions.
Best practices and common punishments to CSR violations. The best practices that uphold corporate social responsibility values are often those that prioritize Philippine laws in their dealings, along with their employees and ecological friendly practices. Aside from this, organizations also make decisions that promote the interests of their own stakeholders. Letter A. Compliance with laws. As with any person or organization, compliance with law is required. When companies do not adhere to the laws set in place for companies, there are certain consequences that will happen, such as legal trouble. Letter B. Stakeholder engagement. Engagement with a company's certain stakeholders will help all the overall concerns and problems it experiences. This leads to appropriate and good feedback from both leaders and stakeholders to uphold long-term goals. Letter C. Sustainability initiatives. Sustainability always comes with protecting the environment through any decision made. Before making choices for the company, leaders must be aware of the impacts to be made on the environment, as well as the employees. Letter D. Transparent reporting. Transparency in reporting financial transactions is much needed to avoid CSR violations. Financial statements allows officials to see how well a company is doing with its dealings and production, as well as seeing if the company is still fit to continue operations. And lastly, letter E, social responsibility programs. Creating programs that address social issues help improve the goals of corporate social responsibility. Aside from what is going on inside a company, organizational leaders should also be aware of the things that's going outside, such as problems that relate to education, poverty, and health issues. On the other hand, companies should also be given repercussions for their inappropriate actions that do not comply with overall goals of corporate social responsibility. Some of the main punishments of consequences include legal trouble, reputational damage, and other penalties. Letter A, fines. Companies might face hefty financial fines if they are found to be in breach of certain laws. To avoid paying unnecessary sums, companies must be able to avoid doing anything that is not in accordance with the law. Letter B, legal action. If found to be on the other side of the law, the government can take legal action against companies involved. Letter C, reputational damage. When companies are found to be not upholding corporate social responsibility, consumers can boycott them. This leads to less profit and overall funds for continuing operations. Letter D, loss of contacts. Businesses with records of CSR violation can lose long-term clients and partners. Companies with no records of violations do not like to engage with companies with violations since it does not help their public image. Letter E, regulatory sanctions. Certain agencies have the authority to give penalties and even suspend company operations if seen that these companies have consistent violations.
Corporate rights and privileges. Rights and privilege in the context of global corporate social responsibility involve legal, moral, and social factors. Corporates are recognized as their own persons with their own legal rights to their property and business. As with any person, corporates must uphold their moral obligations to society through different actions.
12 Principles of Good Governance. The principles that revolve around good governance are those that can be used by public authorities to assess and improve the quality of governance that happens within companies. The first principle is participation, representation, fair conduct of election. Each and every member under an organization has the right to participate in activities, be represented by the higher-ups, and make their voices be heard through proper elections. Second, responsiveness. An organization's leader should be able to respond to inquiries regarding the company's issues and problems. It is required to respond to this to promote clarity for the whole company, no matter where issues are rooted. Third, efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is defined by how well a company is able to produce outputs with limited resources. This should be reflected in every production aspect to maximize efficiency and overall effectiveness of current operations. Fourth, openness and transparency. Transparency is a quality that is always expected from the leaders of organizations. Every member of an organization is supposed to be informed of all decisions made by the leaders and be informed about changes that will affect the company. Fifth, rule of law. Committing to the rules of the law and other certain regulation is a mark as well as a starting point for good governance. Sixth, ethical conduct. Promoting ethical choices is not something that is only done for the environmental and employees since it also encompasses the actions of the leader. Making sure that leaders stay ethical is one way to reduce corruption within the organization. Seventh, competence and capacity. Both competence and capacity refer to how leaders are able to choose the best decision based on the information they currently have. Implementing decision requires the effort of both leaders and subordinates to achieve the overall goal of good governance. 8. Innovation and openness to change. The world is constantly changing out there. As such, organization must not be afraid of changing along with it, especially when taking into account societal norms. These changes must be adapted to, and some of these include gender, sensitivity, animal care, etc. 9. Sustainability and long-term orientation. Good governance often highlights the importance of environmental factors. Large companies are most often the perpetrators of ozone decay and other harmful effects, such as having sustainable choices that promote care for the environment will lead to more long-term goals. 10th, sound financial management. Financial management and having ethical decisions often go hand in hand, since this is mainly where corruption starts. When good choices are made within an organization, funds and finances are secured to ensure that the company still operates. 11. Human rights, cultural diversity, and social cohesion. Any governmental or social construct requires the respect of all individuals of human rights and cultural diversity. Leaders must protect these ideologies as much as they can, since these promote the dignity and well-being of all employees, which leads to better social cohesion within the subordinate groups. And lastly, accountability. It's a concept that is built into all these principles, and the decision has its consequences, may it be good or bad. Like so, leaders must be accountable for any of the decision they make in order to protect the reputation of the company. Being an accountable leader also leads to more employees being accountable as well.
Anti-corruption programs for good governance. Corruption poses a serious problem within organizations. More often than not, it can lead to the ceasing of operation due to limited funds. Listed below are practices that organizations need to incorporate to avoid possible corruption and to prioritize the well-being of the company. First, transparency and accountability. With any company, transparency should be a top priority. In this case, organization leaders should be able to be transparent towards government and public officials to avoid confrontation with the law. Being able to give accurate financial statement is the main way to do this. Second, strong legal framework. In any case that corruption does happen, companies should be able to firmly punish the members that acted out plans that lead to company corruption. Third, code of conduct. In relation to having strong legal frameworks, companies should hold seminars about proper conduct and handling of finances. These seminars should be able to highlight ethical standards that organizations hold for their members, as well as the consequences of action that harm the company. The fourth one is public awareness. Aside from just informing the company itself about the repercussions and consequences of corruption, campaigns should be made to raise awareness of the fact that corruption within closed doors still happens. It also informs other audiences and consumers about the issue. The last one is zero tolerance policies. It is imposing a zero tolerance policy towards company corruption that imposes governmental laws will help reduce it. Anti-corruption programs needs to be customized to each company since these often have different types of environments, especially in different countries. Organizations must be dedicated in sniffing out actions that do not align with their goals. It needs involvement from both leaders and the employees, even including consumers that buy products and services.
Thank you for listening. Once again, we are the Group 5 and reporting about corporate social responsibility. Thank you.